Hello and welcome to Weather HQ. I'm Paolo del Rosario. Now, this week, we're shining a light on some of the most relevant health issues and lifestyle issues this season. Now, from new data by the DOST FNRI about diabetes to tips on keeping your beloved pet safe from rainy season illnesses. We also talk about simple nutrition advice to help you stay healthy no matter the weather. Now, to start, let's take a closer look at why diabetes remains a critical health issue in the country. Here is my interview with Dr. Mia Fojas, Clinical Associate Professor from the Division of Endocrinology, Diabetes and Metabolism at the Philippine General Hospital.
It is definitely one of the lifestyle diseases that are currently one of the problems in the Philippines. However, we always teach our students that diabetes is really not usually signed up as a cause of death, but it is one of the, it's in the statistics that it's supposed to be one of the leading causes of death because it complicates other diseases like atherosclerotic cardiovascular disease. If you add that on to hypertension, diabetes actually complicates everything, including infectious diseases. Individuals are more prone to diseases if the blood glucose is poorly controlled. So it's actually increasing in the Philippines. It's almost 9% as of 2023, and it's rising because of a lot of factors, not just the culture. Previous patients who have been diagnosed, for example, with obesity and who have not been managed adequately, they can proceed to diabetes and a lot of other lifestyle factors that can be actually changed. These are actually modifiable.
Doc, let's talk about yung mga pre-diabetic because as the latest study, around 20% of young Filipino adults are now considered pre-diabetic. And let's first differentiate that. When you're pre-diabetic and haven't moved on to actually being diabetic, what's the difference in terms of yung mga health restrictions, health requirements, and of course how that changes in your body? And of course, can you actually shift from being pre-diabetic to not at risk?
Yes, that's true. You may be pre-diabetes may not proceed to diabetes, especially if intervened early. Like, for example, as you can see in the FNRI data, did you show that? But anyway, in the FNRI data, there was a decrease or a decline in the prevalence of pre-diabetes or impaired fasting glucose or impaired glucose tolerance in the Philippines. However, diabetes is rising. This could be because of better management among patients with pre-diabetes. They are now more knowledgeable regarding the diet, like to avoid sugars. Remember, sugars are the new addiction right now. So perhaps what we can probably do is educate people some more. And I think the government is actually doing its part with regard to awareness. However, with regard to the availability of healthy foods, that's actually a problem. So healthier foods can actually be more expensive right now.
Yeah.
However, what we can see is that younger individuals now have a higher prevalence of diabetes because of perhaps stress-related or work-related, because a lot of the individuals that have been cited are the working age group. So a lot of our people are actually working and they don't have breaks, and there's the availability of fast foods.
Yeah.
Yeah, so not really healthy, and the lifestyle with a sleep cycle, that's another stressor that can actually increase the blood glucose levels as well. So again, this can be prevented from proceeding to diabetes for those who have been diagnosed with pre-diabetes, because it's mainly lifestyle modification. But we do have available medications for those individuals who are obese in the first place, as a one of the causes for pre-diabetes proceeding to diabetes.
Doc, you mentioned a lot of key points I want to dive into. Ako personally, nakita ko yung material namin na pinakita dito and nag-relate ako hindi sa exercise pero sa kumakain eh. But when you look at you mentioned that there are now, especially for younger individuals, it's not necessarily yung eating habits per se, considering that there's actually a trend of more younger people having more health conscious decisions when it comes to their food, when it comes to exercise. But you mentioned the stressors here, and maybe that might be an underrated aspect of the move to pre-diabetic to diabetic. When you take a look at just how much of a factor we should also consider yung mga stressors, especially when it comes to work, sleep cycle in particular, just how big of a factor is that going forward from pre-diabetic to diabetic?
You have to understand that stress can increase inflammation or your ability actually to respond to different challenges with your health. So that is a problem. It's one of the factors actually that can actually mahirap i-control. So it is one of the, I don't have the numbers, how much it can impact pre-diabetes proceeding to diabetes. However, it is one of the biochemical parameters that we see that if there's an increase in cortisol, there's also an increase in blood glucose levels.
Well, you also mentioned that when the stressors come about, it actually goes and helps actually hasten yung diabetes or actually moving from pre-diabetic to diabetic. That also brings up the topic of mental health here. Does mental health actually, a sound mental health actually help prevent diabetes? And of course, when it comes to the factors affecting you stress-wise, does
Yes.
staying away from those particular aspects of life or addressing that actually help in preventing diabetes, apart from, of course, a proper diet and exercise?
Essentially, if you have very good mental health, if you're mentally healthy, you make good choices. And that just not, that includes, of course, your lifestyle, the way that you choose your food, the awareness of your bodily conditions and your abilities to respond to different types of challenges in life. So that matters a lot, the mental health.
Now, when we return, we'll share tips on how to keep your pet safe, dry, and disease-free this rainy season. Stay with us, don't go away. Hello there, welcome back to Weather HQ. Did you know that pets, just like humans, are also prone to illnesses during the rainy season? Now, to find out what you can do to keep them comfortable and disease-free, here's my conversation with veterinarian Dr. Ray Del Napoles.
One thing we have to understand now, our pets are getting to be like our babies na talaga. So whatever we go through, they also go through. So this season, expected natin meron yung mga gastrointestinal disorders, meron yung respiratory infections. Like recently lang, yung 3 cats ko has been acting up soft stool, and then they're vomiting. They got stressed up with the thunderstorms.
My goodness. So when we take a look at, well, first of all, I hope your cats are going to be doing better very soon. But when we talk about yung mga symptoms that this is a certain illness or this is something to at least double check with your local vet when it comes to your pet's health, what are the common symptoms we normally see pop up during this season?
Oh, well, yeah, as I mentioned, kung respiratory infection yan, nandyan yung nagsisneeze, nagka-cough up. Interesting yung coughing ng pets natin kasi it sounds like they're trying to vomit, but they don't, throw up food or anything. They're just trying to clear their airways. So that's the coughing that they can do. So if you notice this and then naging frequent or more than 5 times mo siya narinig within a day, then it is already a symptom. So wag natin siya i-take for granted, dalhin na po natin kagad sa ating vet para po mabigyan kagad ng nararapat na remedies kasi kung hayaan natin yan, it gets worse, mas complicated na po ang situation. So mas difficult na po yung treatment.
Well, Doc, you mentioned that nagiging parang baby nga natin yung mga pets
Yes,
natin,
yes,
right?
yes.
Normally, during rainy season, parents and even some people in general, they suddenly start taking more immune boosters. They start taking mga multivitamins just to fight certain illnesses. Are we at the level already that pets can also take that type of medication to try and boost yung immune system nila, especially during this time?
Yes, as a matter of fact po, ang dami na nating mga supplements available in the market to boost the immune system. Meron tayong mga Ayurvedic treatment na galing India, meron tayong beta-glucans na ginagamit din sa tao. So these are all available. They just need to visit their vets and ask their vets kung ano yung mas maganda or ano yung affordable. Kasi at the end of the day, isa din sa big challenge natin is yung cost of supplements and cost of treatment. So feel free, yun din dapat nating emphasize sa ating mga parents. Feel free to ask your vets, ano yung affordable na supplements para sa alaga natin. Huwag tayong ma-constrain with cost. Huwag nating hindi ko afford, huwag muna. Baka meron pa pong alternative na mas mura.
When we take a look at the vaccinations and the deworming and all the flea and tick prevention, I think that goes without saying. But is there even more further emphasis to have that during the wet season, considering that it could actually be more risk in general?
Yes, this rainy season, we're expecting a sudden spike on coronavirus infection, parvovirus infection. So we have to make it sure na updated ang bakuna natin. Kasi ito na yung season na talagang mataas ang prevalence ng ganitong diseases. Other than that, the other diseases, hindi siya ganun ka-frequent. But again, parvo is like 98% fatal sa ating mga alaga.
Wow.
So the only way we can prevent this is to update or to get our pets vaccinated. A lot of pet owners will take this for granted kasi medyo pricey ang 5-in-1,
Yeah.
the 6-in-1. And they would only opt for the rabies and hinihintay nila yung libre natin na bakuna. And I'm thinking na yun lang ang essential. Pero in reality po, hindi lang po ang rabies ang pinaka-importanting bakuna para sa ating fur babies. Nandyan po ang 5-in-1, which is one of the core vaccines po ng ating alaga.
Okay, so ako, mapapabook na ako sa vet soon. But then, Doc, let's take a look at the conditions in terms of yung sheltering nila, keeping them safe. Some people prefer to keep their pets outdoors, even during the rainy season. What are the best ways in making sure that they're more safe, healthy, and at home in their own home?
Yeah, as I was saying from the very beginning, they are our babies. So would we leave our babies outside? So, di ba? Hindi. So, we have to consider, kung hindi natin kayang nasa loob yung alaga natin, we have to think na ano maramdaman ng babies natin when they're exposed to the elements. Nandyan yung lalamigin sila, baka mabasa sila. So, in short, if they're outdoor po, we have to provide provision po na they're safe from the weather po. So make it sure yung beddings nila are dry all throughout. So elevated. So kung may kulungan sila or may dog house sila sa labas, we have to make sure it's elevated, mayroon pong beddings, and then secure po yung sides para hindi siya maanggihan or hindi siya maabutan ng ulan. Kasi as I've said, they are our babies, and kung ano yung naramdaman nating discomfort, lamig, ginaw, ganun din po ang mararamdaman po ng alaga na. How much more kung nabasa po sila. And it will take time for them to dry up kasi makapal po yung balahibo nila. And kung hindi yan natutuyo kagad yun, pwede na sila magkaroon ng infection. And one of those can be fungal infection as well.
Yeah, I like how you emphasize sa babies natin sila. Kasi kung kapatid ko po yan, bahalan sila dun eh. So, we always talk about yung fur babies, mga pusa, yung mga aso. But then, let's talk about the other pets, like the birds, the fish. Do they also require special treatment, special care when it comes to the wet season?
Well, the birds in general, so if you're talking of macaws, if you're talking of parrots, they're sensitive. Actually, avian species in general, napaka-sensitive po nila sa fluctuating weather. Yung init, lamig, ulan, mahina yung immune system nila. Madaling dapuan ng respiratory infection. And interestingly, itong mga species na to, yung lungs nila is connected to all parts of the body. So, pagkalanghap nila ng bacteria sa nose, iikot na yan sa buong. Nagiging general infection na siya kagad. Kaya mahirap siyang i-manage in general po ang respiratory infections in avian species. Si fish naman po, sanay sila sa lamig. The water temperature napaka-varying. So, hindi natin masyadong concerned. And when you talk of fish medicine, nasa early stage pa lang po tayo dito sa Pilipinas na kaming veterinaryo nangingialam sa health ng fish. Ang mga experts ngayon nasa BIFAR sila, but they have veterinarians na who are specializing on treatment of the diseases ng fish. Pero nakafocus sila dito ngayon sa mga industrial level. So yung mga for the tilapia, for the bangus, for the shrimps, na doon nakatutok. For the ornamentals, meron din. Yung mga nagbe-breed ng mga ornamental fishes natin, meron yung mga retainer ng mga vets who are specializing in making it sure na yung breeding nila of the ornamental fishes are in good conditions. So, on our level naman, for our pets, we have to make it sure po na constant yung temperature. Hindi tayo dapat nagfa-fluctuate. So, mag-invest tayo on our thermostat po sa ating aquariums. And then, the water quality. Pinakamahalaga po sa lahat yan when you are maintaining an aquarium po, the water quality. So every now and then, iti-test natin yung pH, yung nitrates and the nitrites among others. Tingnan po natin yan kasi those are bad conditions for our fishes. So constant cleaning. Pero kung stressful yung weather, I don't recommend constant cleaning of our aquarium.
I understand,
I'd rather invest on a good pumping system, a good filter system na hindi masistress yung alaga natin.
Now, when we return, we'll share nutrition tips to help you stay healthy this rainy season. Stay with us. Weather HQ will be right back. You're still watching Weather HQ. I'm Paolo del Rosario. This nutrition month, it is important for us to understand what to eat, what to avoid, and how to stay healthy despite the changing weather. Now, to learn more, here's our interview with Dr. Dex Macalintal of Lipa Medics Medical Center.
Nagawa na yan ng paraan ng government. So, we launched the Pinggang Pinoy. So, the Pinggang Pinoy, ito yung parang mag-a-adjust na sa atin. So, half of your plate should be just fruits and vegetables. And then 1/4 of your plate would be your carbohydrates. And then another 1/4 would be your lean protein. But the problem is, medyo yung mga Pinoy, medyo nandiyan sila sa area ng medyo piloso po. Uy, 1/4 ng plate, pwede ko bang itaas na ganon? So that's a problem. So kaya kailangan nating ayusin lang yung mindset ng mga Pilipino that kapag kasi sinabi mo 1/4, it should be really just 1/4 of the whole of it. And then, yes, carb heavy yung mga Pinoy, pero tandaan natin that carbs are not the enemy. It's actually the portion and the type of carbohydrates that we're taking a look at. Say, for example, kung ang carbohydrates mo are more of the refined carbohydrates, white rice, white bread, white pasta, medyo magkakaroon tayo ng problem dyan. Kung sobrang dami. But then, kung more of complex carbohydrates like brown rice, red rice, black rice, even your wheat bread, that should be fine. Pero again, everything should be in moderation, variety, and balance. And when we talk about moderation, variety, and balance, meron pong tinatamaan na tamang dami lang yan. So, say for example, kami mga dietitians, we actually compute gano'ng karami yan para sa'yo, sa carbohydrates mo, sa proteins, sa fats, and even your vitamins and minerals.
What's the best way, Doc? Because when people think like to basically measure everything, is there an easy way that people can do it so every meal they can measure 1/4, okay, 1/2?
Yes, use your hands, use your fists. So for your protein, usually it's about the size of your palm. And then yung palm po natin, yung palad po natin ay ito po, hindi po kasama yung daliri. So yeah, that's usually so,
I thought this whole thing.
No, ito yung palad.
So ayan na, discarding Pinoy.
Yan, discarding Pinoy, di ba? So sobrang dami na naman yan. Pero again, it would depend, no? Depends sa katawan natin at depends sa stature natin. So for the most part, 1 to 2 na ganito, that's fine. no? And then yung inyong po carbohydrates load, no? So 1 cup would be just like your fist, no? And then another 1/2 of your plate should be just fruits and vegetables.
Dok, sorry medyo naalarma
Malaki
ako.
yung-
Ang laki
Kasi
ng kamay ko
malaki yung
eh.
kamay niya.
Ang laki ng kamay.
Yes.
Like,
So lugi ka when you have small hands.
give me your hands. Like,
Wala na, mas
Yeah.
marami kang rice kesa sa akin.
Well, kasi...
I have big hands and Pao. Same tayo.
Sorry but
Yeah.
size compare sa mukha ni Ann, pa-zoom in naman.
Yeah,
Alright.
diba?
Kaya pala kaunti lang yung kinakain ko. Ito
Kasi
lang yung
konti lang
rice
din
ko.
naman yung
ito
kailangan
lang
nyo
yung-
talaga.
Okay.
If you take a look at your stature versus Paolo's stature, maliit po talaga kayo.
Okay.
So yung requirement nyo would be a little bit lower than
right.
Paolo's.
Of course,
So
of course.
that would follow.
Yeah.
No, hindi naman po pwede na sabihin natin na si Paolo ganito kalaki tapos mas maliit yung proportions ng kanya. So that would not follow. Diba?
But Doc, July is Nutrition Month. Gaano ba
Yeah.
ka-importante yung nutrition? Especially now,
Yeah.
kasi tag-ulan, no? So, usong-uso yung mga illnesses like yung
Yeah.
sipon, flu, di ba? So, how important is it na we really watch what we put on our plates?
Well, definitely kasi kung ano yung kinakain mo, no, would have an effect in your body. Say for example, kung masyadong refined yung kinakain natin, the inflammation would set in and would definitely put down your immune system.
Right.
Remember that the body is built for survival at kinakailangan niya din ng support to survive whatever it is. No? So ngayon that the flu season is in at lumalamig na, dumadami din yung mga viruses around, causing
Yes.
causing flu, causing cold, causing cough. At ito kinakailangan natin na yung kinakain natin mas magpapa-boost ng ating or magsa-strengthen ng ating immune system.
Are there certain foods we should avoid during this type of extreme heat, extreme humidity with all the rains and stuff? Are there certain foods we should avoid?
Well, wala naman talaga dapat na i-avoid na pagkain.
Yeah.
But yung sobrang dami ng processed foods yan yung definitely kailangan. And check also your risks. If you're diabetic, medyo babawasan niyo po yung inyong sugary intake. No, if you are hypertensive, medyo yung fat intake medyo babawasan po natin.
Is there any good medical explanation? Kasi normally sinasabi natin, okay, so tag-ulan, sarap magsinigang, sarap magbulalo, right? Anything warm and soupy.
yeah.
Like, can we encourage more people to have more meals like that? Or do you feel na tipong like, masarap lang siya kasi sabaw na mainit?
Well, masarap siya kasi
oo.
sabaw na mainit.
Yeah.
And it actually have an effect with your temperature. No, so kapag malamig yung panahon tapos malamig pa yung iinumin mo, minsan nagkakaroon lang ng discomfort. Pero there should be no issue on that. No? So kahit na malamig yung panahon, uminom ka ng malamig na tubig, pareho lang din naman sila ng tubig na papasok sa katawan mo kahit warm yung tubig.
Yeah, you know what, Anne, I have a topic that I think you would really enjoy here.
Yes.
Kasi kahit any time of the year, rainy season or tag-init, maraming nagda-diet. And because of that, some people deprive themselves of a certain nutrients. Deprive themselves of certain nutrients or avoid certain foods altogether.
Yeah.
When you take a right, Anne? When you take a
I
look
don't
at
deny it. I'm always on a diet.
Oo,
Pero
so-
rice lang naman talaga yung tinanggal ko from
no,
my
that's actually my
Yeah.
point.
Okay.
When you avoid certain foods to reach a certain caloric deficit, ano yung mga dangers nun?
Okay. So, kasi tandaan natin na yung mga pagkain natin. No? So, para silang, imagine your body as a company. Say, for example, here, sa news. No? So, tayo ang trabaho natin to be anchors. No? Trabaho nila to be cameramen. Trabaho lang nasa taas ay to do the executive work. If you take away yung executive work, sino mag-step up? Kung tatanggalin mo yung anchors, sino mag-anchor dyan? Kung tatanggalin mo yung cameraman, sino magka-camera dyan? So, lahat tayo madidiskaril. So, ganun din pagdating sa pagkain. So, if you take away certain food groups, the other food groups would have to compensate for the function of that food group. And would have maybe a detrimental effect in the long run. Say, for example, kapag tinanggal mo talaga totally yung carbohydrates. No, so, tanggalin natin yung carbohydrates. Oo, bababa siya. Bababa yung caloric intake mo. But the thing is, yung carbohydrates, there are functions of the carbohydrates. Like, for example, it's a ready source of energy. It's an energy that can be used to protect your protein from being used up. So, ang mangyayari, may-use up siya pero matagal. Matagal yung proseso. That's why sometimes people would have brain fog. Sometimes people would have deficit in their energy. Kaya, and then also, yung mga, kunyari, yung carbohydrate-rich foods, sometimes these foods, ito, mga nakikita po ninyo sa screens ninyo, mga prutas, mga gulay, minsan tinatanggal din nila yan eh. So pagka tinanggal mo yon, there are nutrients that are not found in your protein-rich foods or fatty-rich foods. Katulad nito, pagka tinanggal natin itong mga prutas na to, sayang naman yung vitamin C, vitamin A, no, vitamin B complex. At kapag ka ganun, tandaan natin na kailangan din natin itong mga vitamins na to for our release of energy.
You heard that,
yeah.
Anne. So
Oh,
you
yeah,
need carbs.
that's why
They're the
my-
executive body of your body. So wala kang boses.
No, that's why my nutritionist would always say, if you want to skip rice, you always have to have an
Replace it.
alternative,
Yes.
right? Like sweet potatoes. Yeah. So speaking of itong mga gulay na mga ano, kasi alam natin no, ang mahal na ng bilihin ngayon, right? For families that are on a budget, ano yung mga maire-recommend mo na mga nutritious foods that are good for the health and at the same time affordable din naman?
Well, gulay pa din yung kinakailangan natin i-ramp up, no. So
Right.
there's no replacement for the gulay,
Yes.
no. And then you can have yung pinggang Pinoy pa rin as your template. So halimbawa kung mahal yung karne, pwede ka mag-tofu.
Tofu,
Diba?
yes.
Yung kanin mo, pwede naman nandiyan na pa rin si kanin kasi kailangan mo ng enerhiya. Yung gulay, kung anong available na mabilis yung mabibili at madaling yung makukuha for your budget, pwede naman. Sa amin, sa Lipa City, Batangas, may nabibili na 10 pisong gulay na siya, na mix na siya. Pwede nang pagyamanin yun. And another tip, during this rainy season or any other season, simulan na po nating magtanim. Kasi
right.
kung sasabihin ng mga nanonood sa atin, kailan ko pa aanihin yan? Marami na pong nagtanong sa akin yan, kung hindi tayo magsisimulang magtanim ngayon, wala talaga tayong aanihin.
Oo, tama yan.
yeah.
So if we take a look at the landscape ngayon, oo, pataas yung mga buildings dito sa Metro Manila. Pero pwede ka naman mag-hydroponic setup.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, I
So,
love
yung mga ganyan.
hydroponic vegetables. Actually,
Yes.
they taste different.
Yeah.
They're really good.
And then this could be sustainable.
Yeah.
Yes.
So kasi nadodon ka din naman, mas mumura yung bilihin nyo.
Right.
Hindi ka na masyadong, kunyari, mahilig ka sa lettuce. Hindi ka na masyadong bibili noon.
Yeah.
Right.
Kasi meron ka na ready
Yes.
source.
Right.
So kung magtatanim ka pa ng ibang gulay dyan, pwede ka na mag-pick dyan. And it's also a form of exercise. In the morning, gagawin mo to, magte-tend ka sa plants mo. At hindi lang siya ornaments.
Yeah.
No?
Right.
Ito could be sustainable for your health as well.
And that's a wrap for this week's episode of Weather HQ. Thank you so much for joining us. We'll see you again next week, only here on BNC, the Bilyonaryo News Channel. I'm Paolo del Rosario. Have a great weekend.